Hey there, how you doing? I'm just about to leave the house, but I thought, okay, I should do a live really quick to go over one really interesting piece. So this is another one of those. Oh yeah, don't forget to talk about that things. So there are things that happen before and after the match that will influence how you play in today's match and in future matches. So I want to go over a couple of those because these are strategies that go beyond the X's and O's. All right. So much of the book talks about how to think about the geometry of the court and, you know, in multiple dimensions, right? Three dimensions, four dimensions, and if you include speed, right? Um, and then there's the mental game, so which even brings you a fifth dimension. But what we're going to do now is talk about the strategies of getting ready to play a match really well. Um, because you could have a great game plan, but if you pull up into the parking lot 1 minute before you're supposed to check in for your match and you haven't hit a ball, that's there's going to be some pain there. It's going to be a problem. Um, if you have, if you're going to be going into a tiebreaker today and you haven't practiced tiebreakers, problem. Um, if you're playing one of those really oddball, I hate them set match tiebreaker for the thing, and you don't know how to deal with winning or losing the second set and going into the tiebreaker, then you got a problem. So we're going to solve those problems right now. So the first thing is, um, for the tennis 101 strategy 101 people is you really do need warm up. Right? Get yourself the tournament site even way before you're going to step foot on court. When I started arriving at a tournament site 45 minutes or more before the start of my match, that really helped a lot because leisurely, go use the restroom, wash my hands, uh, go scout out a practice court, find somebody who wants to hit a couple. If there's nothing, go find the wall or whatever, or pepper some volleys back and forth, something along the lines. I mean, I don't know how many times I've practiced in parking lots with a friend just to get the feel of the ball racket. So, arrive now. Another thing interesting to do is get into that town that you're going to, and if the match is at the club, then find a nearby park. And I've had some pretty funny experiences with practicing at some pretty filthy parks and whatnot. But hey, if it's got if it's got all the lines that you need, that's fine. You don't even need a net. And one time, I took my high school team, one of my high school teams, to some alternate courts to warm up, and there were no nets, so we put some things up that were 3 feet high that hit over that. Anyway, so make sure you get a good 15 to 30-minute warm up of some type. You maybe, if there's just absolutely no way for you to hit, then go somewhere and do some footwork drills, right? Get your feet moving. Imagine yourself going to a ball. Visualize. So get yourself mentally ready to play. That's a big thing because the player that does that has a huge advantage over the player that doesn't. All right, now, um, so now you're going into your match, and the 5 minute warm up is up, and it's time to spin the racket. Well, you need to know what you're going to do. So if you know what you want to do when you win the toss, that's an important thing because if you're like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I'll serve. Well, that's not a real confident way to go about it. So you, I have a couple of different ways that I do this. So the default position is if serving is your strength and you really are confident in your serve, then you should want to serve first because there is a little bit of an additional psychological advantage to always being in the lead. So you hold in the first game and you're up 1-0, and then the other player feels pressure to come back. All right, so that's the default position. But maybe you're not that confident in your serve, and you would rather get a game under your belt before serving. Really make sure that you're warmed up. So, so then you will defer, and you'll be happy when they win and they choose to serve. That's fine. But just realize that when you start your matches, it's going to feel like climbing a mountain a little bit. You're going to have to get to 1-1 and 2-2 and all that until you break. So it's not a major thing. It's a very slight psychological thing. People feel like they're in the lead and whatnot. So another thing is, if you are feeling nervous, or if you can tell that your opponent is feeling nervous, then you want them to serve. So understand these things. Look, pay attention to what's going on in the match. But there have been times that I was very confident in my serve game, but for whatever reason, I could just detect that my opponent wasn't really ready to go. They hadn't warmed up much or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I want them to serve first, because I want to get that break like right now, and then hold, and then put them underwater really fast. So have a strategy. Know what you want to do. Maybe all the time you just always want them to serve all the time, and that's fine. So either way, there's advantages and disadvantages to doing it either way. Now, another thing that you want to do is you definitely want to take account of the sun, because some courts are laid out poorly, and there might be some debilitating sun. And then look at where the sun is in the sky, and think ahead. Where is that sun going to be later in the day? So is it going to be over there in the late stages of the match? Well, you can't really control that. So, and it's going to be equally bad for everybody. So really, the number one thing is, you actually just forget that I said that last thing. Anyway, so take a look at the sun, look up and see which side would you prefer to serve on first. And sometimes that's a really big thing. I know I've been on some courts where 8 o'clock in the morning, that sun is coming right through right over the fence, right into your eyes. Or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 5, 6, when it's setting, it can be right in your eyes. So, so keep that in mind. You want them to have that extra game where they serve into the sun. That can make all the difference in the world. I've seen some professional matches where the sun wasn't out all day, and then right at the crucial time of the match, the sun came out, went into the eyes of one player, and then the other player won. So it can be like that. So, so we've covered, warming up properly and how to deal with it when the club doesn't have warm-up courts for you. And we've dealt with having a strategy for what you're going to do when the toss, when you've had the spin of the racket. And now, we want to get into the fact that, when you're getting ready to play matches, you need a practice partner that you can practice playing tiebreakers with, because the familiarity of being able to play a tiebreaker, especially when compared to the lack of familiarity with the other player, puts you in charge, gives you another sort of psychological advantage. So if you're, because the switching can be confusing even to veteran players. Sometimes veteran players will forget to switch at 6 points, or they'll forget what the score is, and they'll serve into the wrong box. It can happen. So you want to play tiebreakers enough so that you feel comfortable, so that when the other player is in the wrong spot, you can go, oh no, wait, go over there. And then there's a fun, it just gives you a dynamic. But having that comfort level to play tiebreakers gives you an advantage over someone who is not comfortable to play them. So you might win an extra point or two just on that, just that they're feeling confused. They're thinking about other things other than playing the match. I know that, with coaching my players, we do lots of tiebreakers. And then when it comes down to that crucial moment, we're having a really good winning percentage. I can't put a number on it, but I'm going to guess that my players have won more than 60% of their tiebreakers. Um, and a lot of times, if you're a team coach and you're having this really tight match, and in 7 matches there are 4, 5, or 6 tiebreakers being played, then it really pays to practice those. And then also then that transitions into the 10-point tiebreaker. Uh, so I call the set tiebreaker, that, because it's the end of a set and it goes to 7. So that makes it a little easier for people to remember. Set tiebreakers go to 7. Match tiebreakers go to 10. So I break it down that way. That makes it a little easier to do, because I really hate the so-called 12-point tiebreaker, which goes to 7. And the 10-point. All right. So I was having a little problem with my router there. I guess I'm good again. Not sure how that looked on your end, whether I just disappeared, but I'm back. All right. So 10-point tiebreakers. So there's this interesting dynamic of, after you win a set, research shows that you will have a momentary rush of dopamine, your blood pressure will go down, your heart rate will decrease. So, so it's natural for you to have a lack of intensity. And man, I don't know how many times I've seen somebody, um, you know, dramatically equalize a set and get to 6-all, and they're just like, I can't believe I'm in a tiebreaker. And then before you know it, they're down 4-1 or 5 love in the tiebreaker, just because they were just so excited about that. And then the same thing happens even more dramatically. So I would like to see some data on how often the winner of the second set loses the match tiebreaker, because I bet it's over 50% by a pretty significant margin. So, what I do with my players is I tell them, look, if you've won the first set, great, right? Just win the second set and you don't have to play a tiebreaker. And then also, it's a decisive victory and you can really say, I won. Okay. If you win the first set, you still have to win at least the tiebreaker of the second set, right? Now, flip it. So if you've lost the first set, all you now really have to do is win the second set and the tiebreaker. So it's really dumb, because a person really only has to win one set. So here's the oh, I'm back. So hey, thanks for hanging in there, you two who are still watching. 3 again. Okay, good. So all right. So I'm going to back up a little bit, because I got a little thrown off there by my unstable internet connection and from spilling my coffee. So This is the fun part about going live. Live television can be dangerous. Um, all right, so mentally, what you want to do is you want to say to yourself, the second set isn't over until I've won the tiebreaker. And what that does is it protects you against getting too excited about winning that second set, because you still have to win the tiebreaker to win the match. And then even if you've won the first set and you're going into the second set and you're behind, you can even say that same thing to yourself. This set isn't over until the tiebreaker. Um, because, you know, it happens quite often that a player or a team will win a second set, have that little letdown, and then get down really fast. And then the other team, sort of has that moment of ramping up their efforts. It's like, okay, we can still save the day here if we ramp it up right now. It's only natural that the winner of a set is going to have a little bit of a dip if they allow themselves to, and the other team is going to have a little rush of determination, because it's just natural that they're going to want to come back and push for that. So one thing that I also do is I ask my players to maintain their intensity from one point to the other. Another big Okay. Hope this is the end of it. So that's weird. I went to this. What's going on there? That's weird. All right. Well, anyway, good thing I'm not doing this for video quality. All right. So the stretch run. Hopefully, I can get through this piece. My internet goes wonk, but and I hope that's not like a bad word somewhere in the world. But the 16-second cure thing really helps with maintaining intensity. So, just point to point, let your effort be, close to 100%, and you won't have the same types of issues. So, but just realize, in fact, one of the best things I ever learned, I was an assistant coach for a college team, um, and the head coach had a little saying that he wanted to see all of his players, play with maximum intensity for the first two games of the set, and then take it from there. So there was this checking in, this reset at the beginning of a match to really make sure, am I giving full intensity? And then you don't have these dips in play where you win a set and then all of a sudden you find yourself down 3-love in the second because you know there was like a lucky shot on a 3-all ball, and then you played a bad game or whatever, and now you're down 3-love, 2 breaks, and that's a tough thing to come back from. So in general, you got to learn these things about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological ups and downs of a match by thinking about them and practicing them and having a strategy for them. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be looking for your comments later. It's time for me to get to the coffee shop, do some writing, send the blog out. Um, I appreciate you watching. Um, you know, Social Digital Currency, like, subscribe, share. Um, Not this one though. Go find another one. This one was weird. I mean, my internet kept going out, so I can't wait to see how weird this looks when I go back to edit it. Um, or maybe you want to share it just for comedic relief. You want to show people how stupid I could be or how bad it can look. That's fine. You can do that too. But thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of it. Questions, comments. Tell me one thing that resonated with you that was kind of new for kind of the beginning, just getting started player. Um, we're talking about just beginning to play matches up to maybe 3-5, but doesn't have like tons of experience. All right. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.